What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Team Chat Podcast, a video game show. I am one of your hosts, Jerrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno to you as well on this fine Olympics week. People out there sweating in the sun, playing sports when we're inside not sweating.
Doing sick flips and such.
Doing really cool athletic stuff, and we're
doing
here.
Some sick tumbles.
We're twiddling our thumbs. That's what we're doing.
We're here doing the gamer version.
I'm getting
of the
sweaty palms while they're actually like getting out there burning calories and doing cool stuff. But how are you for real?
I play pickleball on occasion.
I play tennis. I mean,
Actually,
we've gotten into that.
Is pickleball at the Olympics?
Not yet.
A travesty.
I don't think. I could be
mean,
wrong.
well,
I mean, there's a lot of news. We saw there's breakdancing this year.
To be fair, though, I think pickleball is kind of still mostly / only a U.S. sport. So what would the other countries?
Because Europeans are like, we have actual tennis.
They're like, why would we do that? Which understandable. They'll get it eventually. They have aging populations just like we do.
They're
and those
gonna
old
need the
folks are gonna
pickleballs.
want pickleball. Ooh, it can be featured at the like they have like the I'm putting big air quotes on this because I don't agree with the designation. They have like the geriatric Olympics. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I feel like it's just funny that naming.
I
funny
know,
naming
right?
convention.
I'm not sure.
I'm not
that
laughing at their athletic ability. That's great. That's incredible. It's just funny that it's like, welcome to the geriatric games.
I think it's for like if you're 55 and older,
Okay.
you qualify for the geriatric Olympics, which is like, man, maybe my time isn't over yet. Like I'm not good at sports
You've got from now until
but
you're
maybe
55 to learn pickleball and become the best.
That gives me 20 solid years of training.
That's
I could
pretty good.
conceivably do it.
That's not a bad goal.
My Olympic journey starts now.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's get out there.
Mogan for the Olympics. Hashtag Mogan Olympics 20. What would you say? 48?
Yeah, 2048. God, I hope
Is
it's
there
in
even
Austin.
a 2048? I don't even know. Next year is, if you want to speed run your training program, next Olympics is in LA. They'll be in America. And I actually found out when I was up in Oklahoma visiting family this last weekend that they're going to do like the water sports version games and everything, like the kayaking, canoeing, rapids, different stuff like that. Whatever, all the different versions of that are actually going to do it at this water sports complex in Oklahoma City. So, like,
Why?
random. Apparently, it's like a really good facility.
LA just not have?
I guess
pools?
they're spreading stuff across the country, I guess, because like in this year's Olympics, the surfing is in Tahiti.
Oh, I did see that because
So
those
it's like-
people get to sit on get
Right,
to
like
live
that's
on a
so much
cruise
better.
ship. God.
We were watching it earlier, and Sam was like, "Man, it really kind of sucks if you're one of the people in the surfing competition because you don't get to be at all the other like pomp and circumstance of being at the Olympics." And I was like, "But you're in Tahiti.
They're getting the better deal, if you ask me.
You get the pomp and circumstance of a tiny group experience in a remote." Or not remote, but tropical island. That sounds fantastic.
The ideal, and you know that they probably didn't get saddled with the Olympic cardboard anti-sex beds, so they're probably having
Right?
more fun than everybody else.
They're getting the island sex beds.
Exactly.
So they got the better end of this deal. Well,
Anyways,
while they're out there playing their games, we're inside playing our games.
Nice
and we are
transition,
here
bro.
to talk to you about those today. Thank you. Thank you very much. The ones we love, the ones we hate, and everything in between. You can listen to new episodes of Team Chat Podcast wherever you listen to your podcast services, wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also watch a video version of each episode over on our YouTube channel. Links for all that are in the description below. You can find us over on social media at Facebook, Threads, and Instagram. We also have a Discord server that you can join and have a lot of great conversation with us there when we're not here recording the show. And finally, if you would like to help make Team Chat Podcast bigger and better and get us out there to more of the masses, well, you can head over to patreon.com/Team Chat Podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you can support the show. And in return, we give you cool perks like getting the episodes early before their general Thursday release and access to a private channel on our Discord server, the Rogues Gallery. And there are a lot of cool patrons, cool people who have done that, including our newest and most recent patron, Allison H. Thank you for joining the patrons along with Ark, Brandon W, Bro Mogan, Super Saiyan Ace, Erica L, Elise F, James K, Michael B, Michael S, Snooty Boots, Susan M, and Zach S. The list is getting longer and longer,
all of those
and
people,
I love it.
I just want to point out they are quantifiably cooler than everybody else. You can literally count the dollars of coolness.
Now, let's not be separating people and putting them into different categories like this. I don't like
literally,
it.
we have a whole role on the Discord for it.
Because you do get that special channel over on our Discord
we do
server.
really appreciate it. We appreciate all of you, and even if you're not a patron, obviously this is why we do.
We do.
For the people.
It is for the people.
And mostly for us, but also
It is for our
people.
enjoyment too. But yeah, so a lot of good benefits all the way around. But like Mogan said, if you can't support us over Patreon, that is no big deal at all. We're still glad you're here. Very glad you're here. And there are, lots of cool ways that you can support the show as well. So just telling your friends, writing us reviews, or subscribing wherever you're listening to and or watching the episodes. We even have a Twitch channel where we've been doing some streaming and stuff like that. You can support us over there if you want to. You got that free Amazon Prime subscription if you are an Amazon Prime member. It's kind of cool. You should check it out sometime. Maybe throw us that subscription.
What did I see? They're doing some sort of promo right now.
Yes, I did see this.
Yes.
Let me. I'm actually going to check that out. Sorry, this is a longer sales pitch than normal, but I
think
we need those dollars.
specifically for Twitch and Prime members, I think if you use your Prime sub this month.
Where is it?
You get like 3 months of Apple TV.
Yes.
You get 3 months of Apple TV for free.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, go check that out over on.
The only reason that caught my interest is because I just want to watch The Foundation.
Oh yeah.
With the love of my life, Lee Pace.
6'5" actor
so
Lee Pace.
Handsome.
Oh my God, I do need to finish that show.
It's a great show. I powdered. I secretly acquired the first 10, maybe 11 episodes of season 1. I can't remember how long it was, but then the very last episode in season 1 was corrupted and wouldn't play. So I have to eventually finish season 1, I guess the legal way, so that I can finally move on to season 2. But anyways, The Foundation as a sci-fi show rules.
Yeah,
Lee Pace is hot.
God,
that man's
so
just
hot.
getting better with age every year. So much hotter. Anyways,
neither here nor there, but thank you everyone for listening, being a patron, and supporting the show. We are grateful, eternally thankful for all of your support. So thank you very much. But let's get a little bit of news and what's coming out soon before we roll into our main topic with our moment with Mogan.
Cannot hecking believe it's August.
Finally, though.
God.
July, once it hit my birthday, just kind of dragged on.
It really
like
did,
after I had nothing else to look forward to.
All right, so as of today's air date, August 1st, we have Operation Tango for the Switch. Star Wars Bounty Hunter is out for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch,
the PS5
and PC.
port.
That's
right. Oh my God, I got to go play that.
A wonderfully titled name called Thank Goodness You're Here is out for PS5, PS4, Switch, and PC. Tomba! Special edition is out for PlayStation 5, Switch, and PC. Is Tomba one of those drum rhythm games?
It sounds like it should be.
Maybe I'm thinking of Taiko, but regardless, Tomba Special Edition is out for PS5, Switch, and PC. As of the 2nd, The Mortuary Assistant is out for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One. Is this real? Sorry, I wasn't expecting it.
We both got really excited about the news today.
I'm not sure if this is actually confirmed or not. I'm very nervous about it because it's an indie game. Fields of Mystria is maybe, fingers crossed, I hope, officially being released for PC on August 5th.
Oh.
Fields of Mystria is an indie life/farming sim game that I've been following for a very long time on Twitter. I obviously don't follow it anymore because I don't use Twitter anymore, but I was really excited for this game. So if you're into life and farming sims in Fields of Mystria, I assume it's actually coming out on the 5th for PC, also on Steam, I believe. Check it out because it looks like a really fun game.
Nice.
In other news, Pepper Grinder is out for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, and Xbox One on August 6th. Volgar the Viking 2 is out for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S on the 6th as well. Creatures of Ava is out for Xbox Series X and S and PC. Just Xbox and PC. Wow, how about them apples? On the 7th. And then Cat Quest 3 is out for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, followed by Deathbound for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. And rounding out the August 8th lineup is Steam World Heist 2 for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC.
Very cool. Very fun. Very exciting.
I feel like Cat Quest was something I was kind of jazzed about.
I feel like It sounds very familiar, and I can like picture the box art.
Yeah, actually, you
yeah.
might recognize the box art.
Yep.
Yeah, the Cat Quest games are super cute. And the developer is the Gentle Bros. What a fun name.
Love it.
Hopefully a fun, cute game. But yeah, so lots of stuff is coming out. The top ones for me there are Fields of Mystria, and for you, I assume Star Wars Bounty Hunter.
Yeah, I've loaded that one up a few times actually on my PS5, just like meaning to play, the PS4 digital version that's been on there. So to get an actual like port for the PS5 is pretty exciting. So I'm gonna jump into that one because I've never played that one yet. So that's pretty exciting.
So I thought that Operation Tango sounded familiar, and it does.
Wait a minute, can I see that box art again?
Because this came out in like 2021, didn't it?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I have it on PS Plus.
Why is it on this? Am I on the wrong year? No, I can't be on the wrong
Is it
year.
is it like a PS5 specific port?
No, it was for for the Switch. Sorry, I was
okay.
like, wait, Operation Tango does not sound new. All right, it's getting its Switch.
There we go.
I was so confused. But anyways, that's everything that is out today and coming very soon. Woo, I almost knocked over.
Chiadi Mundi.
Yep.
Yes. He's new. I haven't figured out his exact placement yet, so that's just a temporary spot. I apologize.
He's my least favorite.
You don't like him?
No, I do not like him. I think
You don't like this? I got him, and Sam was like, "Could you get a cone head action figure?" And I was like, "Kind of."
Here's the thing. I think I wouldn't mind his cone head if he weren't accentuating it with the world's
ponytail?
worst ponytail. Yeah. I remember seeing him in Clone Wars, and I was like, "Oh God, who the fuck is that?"
Even though that Jedi are not supposed to have attachments to all this dude fucks because he's got like multiple wives.
Oh my God. Wait, how is that like Star Wars Jedi legal?
Apparently, I'm not totally 100% sure on all
Actually-
that. It's just kind of like they're not. Some special rule with the species.
This is a total tangent, but Jerrett recently got like a big fancy
I'll get it.
collector's. Yeah, go get it. He got like a big fancy collector's kit of Star Wars figures that has in the books, and I did occasionally, I read one Star Wars book, and then I read half of another Star Wars book and realized this is not for me. I probably gave up. But in the Thrawn books, the Thrawn trilogy, which is the one that I read half of and went, no, thank you.
So good. Don't listen to her. But these books are not for chumps.
They're not.
Except this chump.
Except
this
They might be for chumps. But in that series is where they canonically establish that Luke gets married.
Yes.
To a woman named Mara.
Mara Jade.
Mara
Yes.
Jade. And the only reason I bring it up is because the thought has kept surfacing in my mind repeatedly over the past few weeks since you showed me this box. I've just been dying to ask, how is that Jedi legal? Why is it cool for Luke to get married in the books?
I feel like it's one of those things
Because they killed Anakin
it's
over
been
that.
a long time.
They chopped his arms and his legs off.
It's one of those things. It's like, and this I may be butchering it because it's been a very long time
Just
since
like
I've read
how
it.
Anakin got butchered.
True.
Look how they butchered my boy.
But I believe it's the kind of thing that's like, at that point, Luke in an old canon, Luke was really like the only Jedi kind of thing.
Oh, so
And
he was
it's kind
making
of
up his own rules.
Basically, it's like the old order fell for a reason, and which was explored a lot in the new series, The Acolyte, which just finished up, which was very good, I think. And so it's kind of a thing where it's like the old Jedi Order fell for a reason. Maybe this is one. And so it's kind of like maybe we shouldn't be afraid of having these attachments and everything because maybe they help us keep us grounded and and stuff like that.
A stance that I do agree with. It just the thought had been bothering me for literal
No.
weeks.
I think it's really at that point. It's just like Luke's like, this is the new Jedi Order, so here we go.
And every time we met up, I kept forgetting to ask. And then hours later, I would be like, damn it.
Well, now
to ask
this is
again.
good. I love talking about the Star Wars stuff. The Chiadi Mundi, I do need to research and figure out why he got a pass, but maybe he was just the exception.
I guess he just got the Mormon exemption.
But no, over time I've been collecting these because they did these special boxes.
They are pretty sick boxes
because they're comic versions of these boxes, but it's for the Thrawn books. So there's the first one, Heir to the Empire. See, it's got this cool
well,
box
you
and
gotta
all this stuff.
really shove it up in the
Well,
camera.
it won't be in focus, and then it's got the cool insert and stuff.
This
like
is
that.
sexy sleeveless Luke.
Hell yeah. Fucking get it, Luke. Then we have the second book, Dark Force Rises. There's Mara Jade for you.
Which very confusing because she actually has flaming red hair, but on the cover it doesn't look like that. So I was like, who's that lady?
Yep. That's Mara Jade. And then here is the big one, which it was huge for the last book, Star Wars: The Last Command.
It's okay. You can just open it over my face. It'll be really funny.
because it's a 4-pack. It's got Luke, Mara Jade, the evil Jedi Jorah Sabath down here, and then the best part of old expanded universe, no longer canon Star Wars. This is Luke's evil clone, whose name is Luke with 2 U's.
Every time he tells me, I die all over again. So funny.
So funny. So anyway,
do you think that's actually what gave them the idea to clone Palpatine and like bring him back?
it is actually.
Oh my God,
That's what
so
part
funny.
of Jorah Sabath's research in like cloning. They're basically with the Ahsoka series and the Mandalorian.
They're trying to justify that horrible decision.
No, they're
they made.
retelling it. That's what the
gotcha.
whole like story is. That they're retelling now this Heir to the Empire series in these shows and bringing them into new canon in new ways.
Gotcha.
I like it. It's been a great time so far. Bringing it all back around.
I'm
Actually,
sorry
though,
we got off on a tangent. I was just thinking about
it was
stuff.
Star Wars. I'm not sorry about it. I'm not sorry about it at all. But I did have one more news story though, really quick, that I wanted to touch on. Since we did last week get to touch on the story about
The
Bethesda
unionization?
unionizing. This week, or specifically July 26th, video game performers will go on strike over artificial intelligence concerns. This is from the Associated Press. Los Angeles, Hollywood's video game performers announced that they would go on strike Thursday, throwing part of the entertainment industry into another work stoppage after talks for a new contract with major game studios broke down over artificial intelligence protections. The strike, the second for video game voice actors and motion capture performers under the Screen Actors Guild American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, will begin at 12:01 a.m. Friday, so it's in effect now. This move comes with nearly 2 years of negotiations with gaming giants, including divisions of Activision, Warner Brothers, and Walt Disney Company over a new interactive media agreement. SAG-AFTRA negotiators say gains have been made over wages and job safety in the video game contract, but the two sides remain split over the regulation of generative AI. A spokesperson for the video game producers, Audrey Cooling, said the studios offered AI protections, but SAG-AFTRA's negotiating committee said that the studio's definition of who constitutes a performer is key to understanding the issue of who would be protected. So, quote, the industry has told us point blank that they do not necessarily consider everyone who is rendering movement performance to be a performer that is covered by the collective bargaining agreement, SAG-AFTRA Chief Contracts Officer Ray Rodriguez said at a news conference Thursday afternoon. He said some physical performances are being treated as data. So, sorry to read this whole thing, but without guardrails, game companies could train AI to replicate an actor's voice or create a digital replica of their likeness without consent or fair compensation, the union said.
Which is not acceptable.
Not acceptable at all. Quote, we strike as a matter of last resort. We have given this process absolutely as much time as we responsibly can, Rodriguez told reporters. We have exhausted the other possibilities, and that is what we're doing, why we are doing it now, end quote. Cooling said the company's offer extends meaningful AI protections, end quote, and are disappointed that the union has chosen to walk away when we are so close to a deal, and we shall remain prepared to resume negotiations. So basically, AI protections needed to be up to snuff, which is interesting because I actually saw a TikTok from a voice actor saying, not necessarily like a video game specific, but just overall voice actor, who was like talking about how he had work that he usually has repeat, billable work that he does with a client. And he saw one of the videos that he had done for them and it had AI generated voice. Normally, whenever they have to do like changes for that, they'll do a thing that he referred to as pickups, where, even if it's repeating a couple words or a sentence or two, you'll come back to the studio, record it, and be on your way and go. You obviously get paid for that because it's your time. But without the AI protection in that case, like this company just did it. This actor was pursuing legal action, of course, but there's obviously a lot of, not only does it extend to voice, but also, especially in games and stuff like that, physical representations and different stuff like that.
Yeah.
So obviously need to make sure that actors are properly compensated for all and any of their...
And that they can't have their likeness stolen
Yes.
without their consent.
Yes.
Like, I know that they're all key issues, but like to me, in my mind, like that's the important one.
Oh, for sure.
Like you can't just... You shouldn't be able to replicate someone without their consent. That is
Right.
super fucked up.
Yes, it is.
Anyways, good for them. Good for them striking. Related to the other news about the Bethesda strike, the Bethesda workers unionizing,
Yes.
it did make me think, Arcane Studios, are they technically under Bethesda? So that's great news for me because because as you may or may not have heard, I've been replaying Dishonored 2,
Right.
and I finished my first run, and now I'm on a hopefully my platinum run where I'm trying to platinum the game. Love Dishonored, love Arcane to absolute pieces, and it made me think like, man, are they ever gonna make a formal Dishonored 3? God, I hope they do, and maybe with the workers properly unionized now, maybe they'll get to do it.
I'm worried though.
There was Death of the Outsider,
Right,
which was
I know,
a little
which was a
offshoot
DLC.
game. Yeah, it wasn't like it technically was its own game. It was just shorter than the other ones.
But I wonder if this was.
No,
Okay,
so this
it
was
is- it's
Arcane
Leon.
Leon. Yes,
Leon, not
I
Arcane
checked that
Austin.
before.
Okay,
No, it was
okay.
Arcane Leon.
Cool.
Which, rip in peace, Arcane Austin.
Yeah.
But Arcane Leon is the one that matters
Okay.
to me in this particular case.
As long as they're still kicking.
They're still alive. Well, they've got those French protections. So they already have
yep.
protections out the wazoo. So hopefully, come on, Arcane. I'm
You can
begging
do
you. Dishonored 3. You can start with a whole new story. I don't care what you do. In the Dishonored universe, though, they've canonically been to 2 of the islands in the archipelago of whatever it's called, Crystal. I forget what it's actually called. But they haven't been to Tivia or Morley yet.
well, there you go.
So in Dishonored 3, they could go to Tivia or Morley in the far
Sounds
north.
like a plan to
and
me.
it could be the snow level where they haven't been yet. So that's what I want them to do. Anyways, put that on my most anticipated for
Sometime.
2030.
2048 when you go to the
2048
Olympics.
when I go to the Olympics.
All right. Well, we're going to jump over to our main topic of the day, which is one submitted to us by a friend of the show and patron, Snooty Boots, who wanted us to talk about our biggest disappointments.
Which like when he suggested it, I kind of felt like, haven't we already done that? No,
In a sense,
but we've never actually committed to
Yeah.
and I feel like the idea of disappointment is its own thing.
Yes.
So what a great suggestion.
Well, because it's not necessarily like it could be for a multitude of reasons that we find a game disappointing. It can be disappointing because it's fine. He can stay laid down. I just threw I had to clean my desk because it was quite messy before. But it's one of those things. It's like a game could be a disappointment to you because A, the game's just straight bad. B, because it's buggy, not well designed or anything like that. And you can be like, oh, that sucks. It can be bad because you just didn't click with it because like the style of game, like for example, it's not on my list, but Ghost Runner. I really wanted to like Ghost Runner. But then once I got into it, I was like, this game is just not for me. And that was disappointing because the game is cool. The game is flashy. The game has a great soundtrack, but it just did not hit for me, which can be
It can be
disappointing.
that it's a sequel and it's just not as good as you were
doesn't
hoping.
recapture that magic of the original.
Such a tragic one.
What brought Snooty Boots to this suggestion of a topic is a game that I think we could both agree, and maybe is on your list of ones that were not great in disappointment, but Overwatch 2.
It was on my list. We can talk about it more, but I feel like Snooty Boots did he have his own reasoning for why it was
I believe it was just like, we've talked about it before. No, he just said he just saw about Overwatch 2, and that's what made him think of
in that case, we can go into more depth on that
Yeah,
because
let's go ahead.
I feel like we both agree with that sentiment.
Yeah. Overwatch, I mean, it's funny. I just was talking about it with Snooty Boots. We were playing some games online the other day, and we were just talking about it. And I said, man, Overwatch still is the highest number of hours I have logged in my PlayStation.
Oh, it probably is for me too. I don't think on the PlayStation,
Yeah.
I don't think I've played any game even close.
The only game I've probably played more, 2 games I've probably played more. Civilization 6 across all devices, of my PC and Switch.
If you combined
And then
the hours, it would be like 5,000.
it's got to be realistically. I would not be surprised if it's pushing 1,000. That might be
gotta
the only
add
game
all
because
those
it's been years. Yeah, I need to go back to like my Nintendo Switch recaps and stuff like that and see how many hours they say I have put into it. But so the first Overwatch, we played so much. You and I played so much.
Yeah.
All of our like group in Team Chat played Overwatch 1 so much.
I feel like when I stopped playing, I think I had capped out at, I want to say around 600 hours.
I had like 340
It was at least 400,
Yeah.
and I played a lot more than you
Yeah,
did.
you did. You and like Bro Mogan got like really into the ranked grind, which I just didn't stick into as much with it. But like still, that says a lot. We both put a lot of hours into this game.
Miniature lifetimes.
Overwatch 2, Overwatch 2 should have been a no-brainer success for
You
us.
were the chosen one.
Yes, really, because like that style of game was so in for us. Like it just clicked with all of us, and it was so
hot
fun.
right now.
It was so hot right now, and it just Overwatch 2 just changed a lot of core mechanics of the game. Hid the original game. You can't even get Overwatch 1 anymore, and it
they
really
literally stole it from us.
It really became Overwatch like 2.0, not Overwatch 2.
Because so part of the reason that it was such a disappointment is that the Overwatch developers and the publisher, they did expressly promise certain features of Overwatch 2 that wound up being completely scrapped. So in the original plans for Overwatch 2, they were going to have like little individual campaigns for each of the characters, sort of like a hero story mode.
Right.
So you would be able to, for example, play as Tracer and go through her little miniature campaign story mode. And part of that would be that she would have her own skill tree and that you would get to sort of explore her powers in a different, deeper, more meaningful way and have a totally different experience than what you got in Overwatch 1.
Right.
They completely scrapped those plans. They just overpromised a product that they either weren't able or weren't willing to deliver on. So that was like hit number one, is that they really, they promised, they showed, they had footage of like, this is what we're planning, this is what we're going to do. And then they completely walked that back to the extent of just cutting it out of the plans entirely.
And then didn't they even like say, oh, JK, it's coming back? Like we are going to bring it out. And then they still like wound up scrapping it? Or was that the PV?
That was
the PvE mode, but still another mode that they said was going to be in this game.
Another mode that they said was going to be in the game, and then wasn't initially at launch of Overwatch 2, was a more expansive player versus environment mode. So a more expanded PvE mode. Now they did eventually start launching more of those PvE campaigns, but they were all paywalled. So it's like, what's the point?
Which is a huge change. When Overwatch 1 literally gave you every update for free. There was a new hero.
It was a paid game. When we bought Overwatch 1, we went to the store and purchased our physical game.
I have the box and disc.
I still have my box and disc too, which I cannot play anymore because they stole the game from us.
Yeah.
So anyways, the point is you can know... Wait, where was I?
I don't know. We're just shitting on it right now because it was a disappointment.
Shitting on it right now.
And then two... The game director.
Oh, they made it free to play. Sorry.
Oh,
so they made Overwatch 2 free to play. But as a result of that, A, you have to pay for the Battle Pass.
Yep, there's a Battle Pass now.
B, the Battle Pass is such a letdown. It is so disappointing. I feel like 95% of all stuff in the Battle Pass is shit I do not care about even
like
slightly.
Stickers,
like stickers, voice lines, which some of those are
can be fun,
they're really
but
not. They're really not what you're going for. Victory poses, or more often than not, those little charms. Those tiny little charms for your weapons now that you can't even see. Bail, and it's like, boo, do not want that. They're like a handful of really cool skins. And that is it, and it's just not worth the grind.
And they changed like how you get characters now too. The monetization
is different
and
too.
The monetization's different because there was. Let's be fair. In Overwatch 1, there was microtransactions and there was
boxes,
and you had loot boxes, which Overwatch 1 was really one of the big first games to really bring about like, ooh, is this gambling, and start that whole conversation. And but it still at its core was a fun game. You could go in, play online, play ranked, play, just by yourself, like play with a group. You could level up, get things to be able to get skins, like you earned coins over time through like either
you could buy. It was so much
easier to do everything.
It was a lot easier to earn in-game currency to buy the skins that you wanted. Now like the credit system, ugh.
Well, and then what is it with unlocking new heroes now? Do you have to buy them? Is it again? I don't remember with that because I played all of 5 times.
It's not completely broken, but it's pretty broken. So when new characters come out, you can only get them at the time of launch if you have the Battle Pass at the time. That gives you the new character. Now, eventually, and I'm not sure what the cadence on that is, it might be in the next season or maybe the season after that, where you can get the character for free. I want to make that clear. You can get the character for free by going into practice mode and choosing that character and completing like a couple of little objectives. Basically forcing you to learn to play the character before you just equip them and go out into the wild to play with other people online.
But still, you can only do that if you don't pay for the Battle Pass for that season that gives you the character.
Pass, and it's after the fact. So everybody that already paid, so like let's say that you were actually playing the game during season 25. I
Sure.
don't know. And a character comes out, and you don't have the battle pass, so you don't have that character. You are playing against them without fully understanding how they work, unless go watch videos or something like that, or get a friend to tell you. So it's kind of unequal ground, right? Second of all, I think we all know that when new characters come out, they are almost always in some way, shape, or form kind of broken and overpowered.
Yeah.
So the people getting that, like when Brigitte first came out, she was so overpowered.
It was ridiculous. You couldn't do anything without her stunning you.
They really did kind of break the game with that one. But my point being, when those characters come out, they're gonna have changes.
Oh, yeah.
That 1.0 version that you're getting that first time around, if you paid for the battle pass, the people that get that character for free after the fact, they're not going to get that character.
Right.
They're going to get a severely nerfed, reworked character that's going to be like fine to play. They're probably even going to be fun, but it's not going to be as fun as that first round was. So it's just kind of a scumbaggy system of not giving everyone access to those new characters on an equal footing, which
is how the original game was.
Yeah.
You could do all that stuff.
All of the new characters were free.
Yeah,
new maps
were free.
New maps were free. New characters were free. It was all free shit. Now the new PvE stuff is paywalled. New characters are paywalled. Obviously, the battle pass. I just hate battle pass systems. Period.
They're getting it's just the thing. Like I know we talked about it in the Discord, and I don't want to spend a lot of time of it here because it is off topic. But just like the Apex, battle pass changes, which they did revert. But still, they're still having like a higher tier of battle pass system you can get, but they're now getting it where you can still have a battle pass for $9.99. They're not like splitting it into two. That makes you have to get two battle passes per season, and like a lot of other changes. You couldn't use your in-game currency to buy it anymore. A lot of weird shit, and that was disappointing because Apex had been a game that like I played since launch. I played it in there was no beta. It shadow dropped, and I played it day one. And it was so much fun. And it's a thing where it's like, you can't, like, we as players, granted, you're giving us the free-to-play game system, which has its pros, has its cons, but it's here to stay. And for the time being. Who knows if it'll last forever. But for now, it's here. And, when you set up a game, and you give the game, and you make the game, and you make the promises of what you're getting for the money that you do have to put in, you set a precedent of what you're going to deliver. And if you can't make that, it's the same kind of thing as what's so shitty about all these like big streaming companies, like being like making all this content. They get you in like when Netflix first came in, and you got like all the stuff and you're like, oh my God, this is incredible value. And then over time, they just chip away.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's and like give you ads now or like lower the quality of the video streaming you're getting. And it's just like, we signed up. You can't quit fucking and giving us less value for more. Like, because you keep asking for more.
Jerrett, mark my words. At some point, these battle pass games and these free-to-play games, they are going to incorporate ads. I guarantee if they're not already.
I mean, they already incorporate ads for their bundles and like or for their events and all that stuff. So like that makes sense.
But what I mean is like someday when you go into Overwatch 3 and you're about to join a game, you're gonna have to watch like a minute ad before you get it. Like maybe not, maybe that's a little pessimistic, but I feel like somebody's going to try it. And then they're going to be
bemoaning the days of when they wish they had the glory days of Overwatch 2 at that point. But no, it's still just like it's disappointing.
It is. It's very
these predatory monetary practices are influencing and affecting the games that we just used to love to be able to play.
And really, I feel like disappointing is the ideal word for Overwatch 2 because at the end of the day, it's still an okay game. Like if you go back,
the mechanics.
Mechanically speaking, they knocked it down from 6v6 to 5v5. Mm-hmm. That's kind of fun. That makes it a bit of a new dynamic that you have to get used to. They are introducing new characters kind of all the time. Not necessarily, but it's just not as fun. Yeah. Like the new stuff that you have to do to be able to enjoy the same level of game makes it feel like a slog.
Yeah.
And it just took away that spark. It took away that spark that Overwatch 1 had and made Overwatch 2 terribly disappointing. Yep. And that's why neither of us play anymore.
That's true.
I haven't touched Overwatch 2.
I dropped off Apex also. Like I uninstalled because of the battle pass thing per se. That was just another nail in the coffin. But it was also just like that I'd played since day one and I'm still just terrible because but it's not necessarily me. It is partially skill, but it's also because of like how they set up their matchmaking and all that stuff. And you're just fighting against the top of the top elite every game, and it's like I'm done.
The balance is
I'm
not
done.
there.
It's just too much.
Woof.
So anyway, Overwatch 2, great game to kick off. Unfortunately, a great game to kick off our list of disappointing games. But we also had in that same, when we were talking about it on the Discord, Brandon jumped into and said that Mass Effect Andromeda would also be on his list for biggest disappointments.
And if you missed all the Mass Effect Andromeda drama, anyways, if you missed all that drama when the game came out, it was broken.
Buggy.
It was so buggy.
Just not a great, not at all what
buggy.
Mass Effect fans were looking for.
It was a mess.
It was a mess.
A mess is the best way to describe that game.
A little bit.
I think eventually they kind of fixed it.
They did. It came up, and I think now it's like they definitely fixed some of the graphic issues and stuff. Like I remember seeing videos of just like character models with just their eyes absolutely bugged out.
Do you remember like their smiles?
Yeah.
Oh, they were horrifying.
Very weird expressions. Like the Uncanny Valley was strong, but it was very much like
clipping all over the place, phasing through stuff. It was terrible.
Just not great. So what would be another one though?
Well, speaking of clipping all over the place and phasing in and out of existence. I think it's not Uncharted. I was thinking about that.
Well, because that's not a disappointment. You knew what to expect.
Exactly. So that's the thing. With Uncharted, I played the first game blind. I had no expectations, so it could not disappoint me.
Sure.
But it was bad. And then with Uncharted 2, it was still bad, but I had learned. I had learned enough to back out in time so it couldn't disappoint me. I did just enough to realize it is still a shite game. I'm out of here. Peace out. So it couldn't disappoint me. But we both waited way too long past the expiration date, if you will, to enjoy this game. And I think the cultural hype around it and the ongoing cultural sort of entrenchment of it just sort of set us both up for disappointment.
I am racking my brain to think of what this could be.
As soon as I say it, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, Skyrim.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So neither of us are like ride or die for Skyrim.
Well, because neither of us, I think it's safe. You have to put it out there as a caveat that neither of us are ride or die for the Elder Scrolls series.
No, we're not ride or die for Elder Scrolls at all. And Skyrim is really the only Elder Scrolls game I have played, period.
Same.
But we, at least we both played it years and years after it came out. When did Skyrim come out?
2011.
2011.
We played it at least...
like last year.
Yeah, like 11 years after.
So we were very...
without having ever touched it.
No, without having ever touched it. Totally blind, brand new. And obviously Skyrim it's still being played today, and it still has such a strong meme culture around it because people
Well, there are going to be people from our Discord in the comments
They
angry at us for bringing it up.
Nines, probably Ark, whoever else plays Skyrim. I know a bunch of them do.
Kirok's going to come after
loves
us.
Skyrim.
He's going to come after you.
Yep, he's gonna kill us in our sleep. Probably. Anyways, but so there are loads of people that love Skyrim in spite of its many flaws and quirks at best, but that's just not how it worked out for us.
Well, because I feel like part of the charm for the people who really are into Skyrim are the quirks and the bugs and the weird things that happen. Like I got launched into the sky.
A classic.
I got launched into the sky by a giant, and I posted about it on our Discord when I was playing it, and people were like, "Yeah, that's a thing.
That just happens. Yeah, that just happens.
Oh, okay.
It's like
Didn't know.
But that's not really what was disappointing about Skyrim to me. It was just that, like, to me, it did not live up to the hype. Like, it had so much cultural hype around it. People are people will die on the hill of Skyrim for Skyrim. And that level of dedication sets you up for a certain amount of expectations. You're thinking, okay, well, this must be the greatest game of all time. They keep re-releasing it for every new console.
Milking it for all it's worth.
It must be incredible. So when you go into it, and it's just kind of not that great. It's like, oh, well, okay. This just really isn't for me, I guess.
I think it's a thing for me with Skyrim.
First
I
of
actually
all,
didn't think about
fugly
it.
as shit. That game is ugly. Now, at the time, I'm sure it looked great.
Yeah.
They can only reskin it so many times for the current generation. And there's only so much lipstick you can put on a dead pig.
No, I think for me too is I just played it, and this was the same thing when I tried playing Fallout. I played Fallout 3 and tried it a few years back. And it's just, I think I just don't click super well with Bethesda games.
Yeah.
For me, like their like just how their quest design, just like the amount of interaction with people, their dialogue, or even like with Skyrim, the inventory systems and like switching spells and per hand, all that different stuff.
That was really what killed Skyrim.
Was very difficult for me to get.
Was the extremely clunky UI. It
Yes.
just completely killed any amount of joy I may have gotten out of that game.
And it's kind of the thing too, like I didn't really try being an archer because I had seen, like, I'd played Fallout 3 and I didn't like, even with the VAT system, if I didn't use the VAT system, which is like the aiming mechanic and stuff in those games, I just missed every shot. And just because it felt like just the controls were just laggy. And it may be because I visited Fallout 3 super late too, so maybe it's the same kind of thing coming to bite me in the ass. Maybe I should actually play a Bethesda game on
when
release
it comes
day
out.
if I could, if it wasn't buggy, you know what I'm saying? But still, like if I picked a Bethesda game on release day and played it, maybe then like I would have a better experience with it. But that was just kind of thing, like older Bethesda stuff like that just, I don't know. They just don't click with me.
Yeah. I mean, some of the gameplay was kind of fun. I got like one of those spells that lets you, like one of the necromancy spells that lets you resurrect.
Oh, yes. I remember
and
that.
I had a whole bunch of like resurrected wolves with me. And I was like, this rules.
Yeah.
And then they all died at the same time. I was like, oh no.
I feel like you were streaming it because I feel like, or like you saved the clip or something. Because like
it was terrible. And
yeah.
that like little surprise was a little bit of joy. So there were things about the game that I did like, but the UI was so terrible. I just could. There gets to be a certain point in technological advancement where going back truly does feel impossible. And that's how I feel about Skyrim's UI. Like, no, we have moved past this. We are well beyond this point. This is not going to fly right now.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, well, you have to play the mods. If you have to play the mods, then the game itself is not that good.
That's a hot take right there, and I love it.
Yeah, but
a good
anyways, so my point is TLDR, I going to Skyrim recently as a first-time player was a disappointing experience.
Yeah.
I put in an honorable 10 to 12 hours of my life, and honestly, I would like those hours back.
Oof.
So that's how I feel about Skyrim. I don't hate it. I just don't like it, and it did let me down.
Yeah. Well, another game, one that hit on my list, and it's one that we've talked about before, and it's one that you and I both played. And
Life is Strange 2.
Oh man, I didn't even think about that one, but yeah, that was kind
on
of
my list.
That was
Anyways.
the sequel in that's disappointing because it doesn't live up to the.
We can
to the
circle
original.
back around that. You keep going.
But this was a release day game that we got to play that we then found to be disappointed with.
Wait. Let me guess. How recently?
Like I think 2016
Ooh,
ish.
okay, a long time ago. That
Maybe
was like early
17.
days. Oh shit.
I could be wrong when this game released.
Okay, we hated Rage 2, so it can't
It's
be
not
Rage
that,
2.
and I did not add Rage to the list. We have talked.
not Rage.
That was not a disappointment. That was just a
a
travesty.
game that we both played on release day?
Maybe not. You didn't get it,
But like really,
within
close?
Yeah.
Okay, and it definitely wasn't Overwatch, because
No,
we loved that. That
we loved
was
it.
a perfect game. They should really bring that first one back.
Yep.
Give me a hint.
You can fly.
Microsoft Flight Simulator. You can fly?
Nope. Yeah.
I give up. I'm never gonna get it.
Anthem.
Oh yeah, damn.
Anthem
Good choice, bro.
was the like the
that
pinnacle
is
to me
such a good
of a
choice.
disappointing game because that game, oh my god, like from every like trusted developer in BioWare.
Yep.
You're getting, they can tell an RPG story and tell a good story. Dragon
can.
Age, Mass Effect, great stories. They've got the chops.
They've got the chutzpah.
And from everything they're showing of Anthem, it's a completely different setting. It's set in space, but but in the future, or in a different galaxy, other planets, whatever.
Cool sci-fi mech suits.
Cool as shit sci-fi mech suits. Like that flying in your javelin suits was one of the top experiences of gaming.
It was
Like,
legitimately fun.
It was
very
so fun. Hitting the boost button, you felt the afterburners kick in like through the sound design, vibration in your controller, the visual effects on screen. You felt yourself get that extra boost. You could do insane like moves and tricks.
Fun little
You could
twists and
dive.
turns.
This part was cool too. You could dive from the sky into the water
And keep
then
going.
keep going and come back out.
was beautiful.
It was seamless. It was beautiful. The environments were beautiful. The gameplay was awesome in that regard in its mechanics. There was cool customization of the different like javelin armor types, and all this stuff on paper and from looking and first impressions.
If you like stood 500 feet back and squinted, you'd be like, damn, that game looks good.
But even that's what I mean. Like even from our first impressions, the first few hours
yeah,
of it, we were like,
we liked it.
"Holy shit,
Yeah,
this is
we
awesome!"
loved it.
And it was going to be like multiplayer. You know, it had a main story. It was very Destiny-esque. In fact, I believe it was supposed to be like a Destiny rival competitor. Where it was the same kind of thing where you know, there was the main story you could follow. Your friends could jump in and out at will. You could meet up and play through more missions with randoms. There were side things to do, like strongholds to go breach, daily quests, blah, 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 loot system, you know, all this stuff you could do. And then you actually get into it after a little while, and the story is just not there.
No, it really wasn't. The story in Anthem, like the campaign storyline, was just...
It felt like an afterthought.
It did. It felt very half-baked.
Yeah.
Like, it started off, I thought, kind of strong.
Yeah.
But then eventually you saw, like, oh, wait a second. Okay, is this it?
Mm-hmm.
Really, that's the feeling, like, ooh, is this all?
It was, is this all? The story just, like, jumped. I remember there was, like, a betrayal or something late in the story, and you're like, where did this come from?
Your, like, mentor or
Yeah,
that person
or, like, your
that...
apprentice, something like
Yeah.
that. I can't remember, but, like, it just, like, everything felt random. The final fight was such a letdown against the Monitor, I believe, and like just had a very anticlimactic ending to it. But it was, so that was kind of like, oh, that sucks. But you're still like, oh, the gameplay is so fun. Like, you know, like the fighting, the
be able
shooting,
to play the multiplayer, right?
exactly. But then there was like nothing to do after.
Yeah.
The end game content was just non-existent, really. You the strongholds and other things that you could do and replay, like the quote unquote raids, they never did like new one. They never just like gave updates. It was also buggy. Like they did have that issue too. And they slowly tried to fix those things over time, but then it just got hit with, this is supposed to be a live service game, and you were just not feeding us the content and the stuff that was promised.
And do you remember how stingy the drops were?
Yes.
Like how
It
hard
took
it
you
was to get
forever
epic.
to loot anything
Oh my
up.
god. Like I even think, didn't they have that one disastrous stream where like they had just completed a quest or a raid or something? And
Oh my God, I forgot about this.
There was a running joke of like the purple rain because you would never get epic or mythic or whatever
Right.
level items there are. And so the people from BioWare, like playing the game on sort of an official expo, they go to open this chest at the end of this quest and it's the purple rain. And there's like a beat of like the dead silence.
Like
of
how
like
the hell?
them realizing what has happened on stream for all to see, the thing that players were all complaining about.
It's like
It's
it was giving too much, or it didn't give anything.
didn't give anything.
Oh, okay,
So like
okay.
there was I'm forgetting the color system exactly, but I feel like there was purple and then there was gold maybe,
Yes.
and purple
Or
was
like gray
all,
was maybe like the base level,
Yes,
something.
gray was the base level, then blue was uncommon, then green was rare, then maybe red was
That sounds right. Something like that.
legendary or something
Yeah.
like that, and then there was purple, and then I think there was another level on top of that, like mythic or epic or something like that, and no one
Could ever
was
get those
getting
things.
those top level items, whatever color they were.
Right.
So there became a running joke of like purple rain because that was all you would ever get, and it was just terrible.
Yeah.
So an
So-
incredibly stingy loot system, which in a looter shooter
Yes.
is a problem.
And there were also microtransactions, which also kind of like stunted in how quickly you could accumulate loot and different things like that too, or up different upgrades, because there was a store with various items, but it took forever to like get stuff to be able to get anything from it, and it was maybe just the curse of like it was an early live service game, which still, you know, you could say they've never really figured out that formula to really work that well. So it could just be a victim of that, and that's not BioWare's strong suit. I don't know. But that game, as much as I wanted it to be amazing,
Yeah.
and as much as it felt amazing when you first started playing it. I actually went back and looked at my old notebook with my like notes for our review episode of Anthem, and I was like, it's great, but small caveats. And then now, like looking about it after a long time, I was like, oh man, yeah,
this did not age well.
It sucks, and it sucks because Anthem should have been a fantastic.
It had so many fun elements to it. It could have been a really good game if they had recognized what was so fun about it and really doubled and tripled down on it.
Yeah. Which in this case should have been, give us more reasons to be flying and more reasons to be fighting, and give us rewards for doing it, not just make us grind hours upon hours upon hours for nothing.
And make the flying infinite. I hated that your engines would overheat and you had to periodically land.
But it was cool though, because I like how it was frustrating that it could overheat, but it was cool how they made it where you could cool off the engine quickly by either doing a dive or by going like through water.
That was fun.
And that was cool because it incorporated elements of the environment. But they had good beginnings, just focused on the wrong stuff and just not support for the grind they wanted you to have.
So forgot about Anthem. That was a good pull.
I just listened to the soundtrack today. The soundtrack by Sarah Schachner. It slaps. The soundtrack is so good and still one of my favorites.
What a bummer. God, what a bummer. Like when a bad game has a great soundtrack, it's so sad.
It does. It sucks.
Wasted potential.
Okay, so you talked about Life is Strange.
Actually, I did want to talk about Life is Strange.
Okay, let's talk about Life is Strange.
So, specifically Life is Strange 2, and I feel like this is not entirely Life is Strange 2's fault. So this is a great one to bring into the conversation for that other category of a sequel that just, I mean, when you look back, Life is Strange 2, at least for you and me, I think was always doomed by the narrative. Yeah. Because we had mind-blowingly fantastic experiences with Life is Strange 1.
Oh, yeah.
Both of us went into that game blind, not at release date, like way after the fact. And just played it for the first time, totally blind, parallel to each other, but not talking about our decisions until after we had already finished chapters so that we could compare notes, which made it that much more fun that we were playing it together. And then every chapter in Life is Strange 1 was just new insanity, new madness.
Turns.
New twists everywhere. It did such a good job of pulling off its narrative and telling a really great story because no one was playing Life is Strange for the gameplay. That is not what Life is Strange is about.
Adventure.
It's a point-and-click adventure, which I personally love. I am playing it for that kind of gameplay, but that's not everybody's cup of tea, especially not yours.
No, the story pulled me in.
But you still had a phenomenal experience with Life is Strange. And just in that way, I feel like Life is Strange 2 never could have lived up to Life is Strange 1.
Yeah.
And this is just an example of, I've talked to other people and heard from other people that they connected way more with the story of Life is Strange 2. It features brothers Sean and Daniel. They're the children of an immigrant father. They have all kinds of mishaps and misadventures, and they have a lot of struggles and strife as they attempt to escape a very bad situation and build new lives together as children. Daniel is
like
Daniel's
10 or
the
under.
older one. Oh, Sean's the older
Sean's
brother.
the older.
So Sean's like 16 maybe, 16 or 17, like just shy of being 18, I think. And Daniel is young. He's like 10 or 11. So they are young brothers out on the road on their own having, kind of otherworldly experiences because Daniel has powers, kind of like Sam did in Life is
Max,
yes. Kind of like Max did in Life is Strange 1, but with a different bent to it. But it just never quite clicked for me.
Yeah. I think a big reason for that, too, and a disadvantage, I think, in our two experiences of playing Life is Strange 1 and 2. Life is Strange 1, we did play it so much later.
Yes.
And so we got to play the game all at once.
Because these were episodic games. I actually forgot about that.
Which the original Life is Strange was also episodic.
Yeah.
And which I'm glad this is a trend that's gone by the wayside.
Oh my God, yeah, this trend really died.
Because I think this is like Life is Strange 2, what could have been better, and I think we would have enjoyed it had we been able to sit down and play all 5 episodes at once.
Yes.
But they dropped those piecemeal for over a year.
Yeah, they did.
Which was a longer timeline than they even said was supposed to happen for the release dates. So not only did it take months in between playing, so by the time you played chapter 1, then went to chapter 2, you're kind of like,
what happened again? Yeah, you've forgotten everything that you did, because you make crucial decisions along the way that change the trajectory of your path. That's all part of the Life is Strange experience. But when you're making them months and months apart, you're like, shit, what do I do?
So by the time it got to the final chapter and we were talking about it and recapping it, we're just like, I don't care. And I just want it to be done.
Yes. I mean, that was the overwhelming feeling.
Yeah, because it just didn't, A, capture the magic of the first Life is Strange. I just don't, because 2, it made the, I would say, bad choice of not having the playable character be the one with the power.
I think that was a gripe with the game from the get-go that we both did not gel well with. Because Daniel, the younger brother, is the one that has the powers. But you, Sean, the older brother, your role is basically just to tell Daniel to do certain things. And from a familial storytelling perspective, I feel like that opens up a lot of interesting narratives because Sean is obviously hugely influential to Daniel. You influence him to make certain decisions that mold him into the person that he becomes at like the epilogue of the game.
Right.
So in that way, it has a lot of fun storytelling potential, but it just made the gameplay feel really stilted.
Well, because we already referenced that the gameplay of even the first Life is Strange was not what you wrote home about. So then, but it was still cool that you got those moments in the game where you could use Max's abilities.
And you felt powerful.
But so if you then remove that, it's just kind of like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it's
and
not
then
great.
too, remember they had like the demo or like preview of the game was with a completely different character.
Captain Spirit?
Yes.
I think that's what it was called.
The Adventures of Captain Spirit or something like
that.
So it was just kind of like interesting. So you kind of thought it was that, and then
he wound up just being a neighbor kid NPC that you briefly interacted with
for one of the episodes.
Yeah, and you don't even really talk to him. Like Daniel talks to him.
Yeah,
that's it.
So it was just kind of an odd twist. I still need to get around to play True Colors and see how that one stacks up. And then of course now we do have Life is Strange 2, the new 2, whatever it's called.
We'll call it new 2.
Focus. What's it called? The Life is Strange 2
Focus Fire.
Something like that. But Max Caulfield's back. Yeah. And so,
which I have reservations about. So
I do too. So we'll have to see how that goes. Because like it kind of almost from the trailer almost feels like it's The Force Awakens to A New Hope, where it's a retelling of the same story with some changed details, because it kind of like, it's like Max is in college now or an adult and she has friends and one of them dies and now she has to figure out why.
It's like, bitch, this already happened. We did this already.
But I'm excited for it because it is going back to Max's story.
We're still probably going to play it. Yeah, we're still going to play it.
But who knows? It could be on volume 2 of Biggest Disappointments.
So if this does just happen to be total redo story beats of Life is Strange 1, I hope that they take it in the direction of Max's friend dies, and instead of using her powers, she just goes to therapy and deals with it like a normal person. I know that that's not what's going to happen, but I feel like that's the only. I feel like that's the only way that you could sort of do Max's character actually experiencing growth, because the whole point of Life is Strange 1 was using your time-bending powers to save the people you love is actually probably not a good idea in the grand scheme of things. And that was sort of the lesson, that butterfly effect.
That Ashton Kutcher tried to teach us about.
You were meant to learn, unless, of course, you save Chloe, in which case, I
don't remember. Did you? Spoilers for a very old game. Did you save Chloe?
No, we both let her die. I think we were like, no, sorry, bitch.
Sorry, gotta save the town.
This high school love thing is not the hill I'm willing to kill everyone else on.
My mother, friends, everyone else.
No, you ain't worth that. Like, I like you at all, but not that much.
This will be just a moment I'll look back on in time.
This is like, bye. But that's sort of the lesson that you were presumably supposed to learn, because it seems like Life is Strange 2 starts off assuming that you let Chloe die.
Double exposure. That's what it's called.
Double exposure. Yeah, there we go. So that photography thing.
Yeah, I knew it had some kind of
Max is really into taking Polaroids or whatever. I don't know how that's going to change.
Just a hipster.
Anyways, the point is Life is Strange 2 was disappointing.
Yes.
The first one. The first Life is Strange 2.
It really was. It really was. All right, let's see. What else we got? Do we have like...
Those were actually my major ones.
Okay.
Overwatch 2. Oh. I will briefly touch on
my other two, I'm curious to hear mine were like I like the games we've talked about more than mine. Mine are like, these are like,
Yeah, this one was sort of my throwaway, and I want to say that it was a throwaway because I played so little of the game because it did truly let me down, but I can't exactly articulate why. Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, do you remember that game?
I do. It was like
A couple of years ago, maybe?
a couple years ago. And like, what was the big deal with that one? It was supposed to be like open world, but there's like
Yes.
nothing in it.
So that was probably part of the problem. So I am not I would not describe myself as a diehard Pokemon fan. I have played select Pokemon games and really enjoyed them. Heart Gold was my favorite one. I also played Black White. I think I played Black. And I've played a couple of the other handheld, like back in the DS games, back in the days of the DS and the 3DS. That was really my Pokemon heyday.
Sure.
I have more recently tried to play sort of the new Pokemon games that the cool new kids are talking about. One of them was the remake of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, or whatever combination of those remakes were. And from that, I learned that the classic Pokemon formula doesn't really spark joy for me anymore. I know that it does for lots of people, and maybe it could again, maybe just Brilliant Diamond or Shining Pearl or whichever one, maybe that just wasn't the experience for me, but I got way more joy out of Pokemon taking things in a new, or at least new to me, direction. Like when they remade new Pokemon Snap, oh my god, that game was phenomenal.
Yeah, I remember you spending a lot of time in that.
I loved it. And as someone that never played the original Pokemon Snap, because we didn't have whatever system it was for,
N64?
Nintendo. Yeah, N64. Yeah. We didn't have an N64. It was all new. It was wonderful. It was so charming. Oh, it had it all. I feel like that was the ideal Pokemon game, and I'm not afraid to say it. So then going to Pokemon Legends Arceus, it's like, okay, here's some new stuff. They're going to try out a new thing.
Yeah.
So instead of the top-down 2D experiences of the Pokemon games of yore, this was taking Pokemon into 3D and into an open world, into a semi-open world. So it's got a little bit of time travel in there too. You wind up getting teleported back to basically feudal Japan, sort of. It's obviously Pokemon world, but it's styled like feudal Japan. And you have to help a feudal scientist fill out what is essentially the first Pokédex. So you're helping this guy do research for what will eventually become the Pokédex. So you just get to go out into fields and go out into biomes and into the world and encounter Pokemon in the wild. No more trainers just sort of waiting around the corner to ambush you and challenge you to a battle. You just go out into the world as you want and you chuck your Pokeballs at Pokemon and you hopefully get them. So it's missing that original formula, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But what it replaced it with, I would argue, wasn't really better, at least for me. Loads of people love Arceus, and I kind of get where you're coming from, but also it just didn't work for me. So the new formula of having to do like these surveys and go out into the field and sort of check specific items off a list to help further the research of the guy doing the Pokédex stuff, it involved a lot of like re-catching the same creatures over and over again. Like, oh, well, okay, you've gotten a Bidoof, but now you need to go back and get Bidoof again because I need you to catch 6 of them so that I can have a good sample size. Or, well, now you have to go and catch Bidoof again because I need you to observe Bidoof using a specific move so that you can report back to me on that. It was that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's a little too in the weeds.
That's a little too in the weeds for me, too. So I was like, ooh, I don't love that.
Yeah.
And then I don't often harp on graphics that I do not like. But similar to how I think Skyrim is butt ugly, I feel like for being a new game, Legends Arceus was inexcusably hideous.
Yeah, it did not look good.
It was ugly.
It did
not look good at all. And I mean, that, like, you can have a game that has dated-looking graphics that still makes wonderful artistic choices. Case in point, Skyward Sword. I feel like Skyward Sword is far, far from a game that most people would consider graphically cutting edge, but it had such a unique watercolor palette and such a bright and vibrant world that you could kind of excuse that it was dated graphics. Dishonored. We were just talking about Dishonored and Dishonored 2. too. Those games are by now quite old, especially the first Dishonored game.
Yeah.
But you go back and you play it and you're like, man, this game looks good. Because that very specific art style they chose just happened to hold up really well.
Right.
Arceus looks like it was made in 2003, and not in a good way,
Yeah.
not in a charming way. It was just so ugly, and it felt very hollow. The environments just never really gelled with me, and neither did the gameplay. I did a little bit in that game, and I quickly realized this is not for me.
This is not good.
And I took it back to the GameStop and I traded it in for something else. I was like, I would like my money back, please. I think that was also the same transaction where I also traded in Pokemon Brilliant Diamond or Shining Pearl.
Man, you really
I was like,
just-
I will put all of these Pokemon games back. I will keep Snap because that is a good game. All of these other ones, you can take them back.
The great Pokemon Purge.
Yeah, the great Poke Purge.
All right, let's see. I just had a couple that like are ones that I'll just briefly touch on that were like, man, I wanted these to be great, and they just weren't. Didn't click with me. One, Biomutant.
Oh, yeah.
You were supposed to be like a cute, cuddly little creature who learned martial arts and could make crazy weapons in a post-apocalyptic world. And on paper, again, looked like that should have been really, really fun and had a lot of great stuff. Open world. You could even like find these like bio pools later to like, it was basically like the earth had ended and like something happened and now all animals are like mutated and are basically running things now. But you could find these bio pools and like even change your look, change your stats if you're like, this is just not gelling with what I'm wanting. You could have different weapon types like ranged, melee, and they all looked really cool because they were like salvaged and built from junk and different stuff like that. But I think the main problem with Biomutant is it just should have been toned down a little. It was just a little too big of a world for the amount of content that the game offered. So it was like you had these different weapon classes and different styles of weapons, but to do combos when you were fighting required the same inputs regardless of class.
That sucks.
It just kind of made the
That's just a
combat
little
kind of
lame.
boring.
Yeah, it made it kind of boring.
They had a lot of side quests and a lot of activities in the world that you could do, but a lot of them were like a puzzle based thing where it was like unlock this safe or like repair the like the electrical line to unlock this door kind of thing. But it was the same type of like dial based puzzle solving, and it was the same thing. It was just like you reskinned this same puzzle mechanic to make it look different, but it still is solved the exact same way.
Like I got real tired of unlocking locks with the lockpick in Skyrim real fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it was just kind of that, and then the bosses and like bigger enemies did just kind of feel bullet spongy, and it wasn't. And like I said, the combat didn't feel that fun because it just kind of got
wasn't
old.
super rewarding.
Yeah, and so I just kind of fell by the wayside on Biomutant. As much as I wanted to really like the game because the art style was super fun, I thought the setting was a really fun, new, neat, original idea. Just wound up not clicking. Yeah. And the very last one that I had to round out my list is Dead Island. Do you remember Dead Island? It was a PS3 zombie game.
But you also know that I never play the zombie games.
Oh, that's true.
I was sick of zombies in 2001, and they are still around somehow.
This was one that I think, I think it falls in disappointing for me for two reasons. One, I fell prey to the classic great trailer. Of a really cool cinematic trailer.
Maybe I would remember the trailer.
It was great. Like it is a fantastic trailer.
Did we talk about it on our great video game trailers
We probably
episode?
did.
Because this is sounding more familiar
The
as you
whole
talk
thing
about
plays in reverse,
it. Yes.
and it has the really slow like dun dun.
Yes. Okay, this sounds familiar, and I think we watched it on that episode.
Yes.
So, gotcha.
Fantastic trailer. I was like, holy shit, this looks so good. And this was about the time when I was getting into like The Walking Dead and different stuff like that.
That feeling when the marketing department is really carrying the team.
And I think this is a case though of a great trailer that just didn't for me match up to the game, and I just also think the mechanics and the style of game that it is not lining up with what I was looking for.
Yeah.
The main thing being that it was based on, again, a lot of scavenging, this like island resort that's now being overrun by zombies. So you're scavenging for a lot of weapons. A lot of the combat was melee based, and it was first person, which for whatever reason, I'll say it like that fucks with me. like a first person shooter, I'm great at. Like a first person melee game,
that's-
not my thing. Ghost Runner, first person melee, not my thing. Skyrim, first person melee, kind of not my thing.
Yeah, I agree with
It's like for whatever reason that does not track with me.
I gotcha.
I don't know why. But this also had the bane of that killed Breath of the Wild for me, weapon durability. And it was pretty rough in this game.
Yep.
I remember being like 2 hits to a zombie and that really cool baseball bat you just found, broken. And so it became to me a lot of just like, I didn't want to fight because I was going to lose all this stuff. I'd already taken so much time accumulating to be able to get what should be a good weapon that still breaks after 2 fights.
It's not worth it to fight and lose your good shit.
Right. Or I was having that issue of not being able to like judge the distance of the melee weapon range. So it was a lot of like, I would just die a whole lot. And just like, and so I just kind of feel like that game, a little bit of the game just wasn't the type of game for me. But then also the trailer was so damn good, and I wanted to play it really bad.
And anytime the trailer is super super good, you're setting yourself up for disappointment.
I should have waited for the gameplay trailer. Damn it!
Play games that have shitty trailers because they're probably going to be good.
But yeah, so that is the rounds out my list for the biggest disappointments.
I think we had a nice, good mixed list.
Oh, yeah.
Some new stuff, some older stuff. Interesting.
Quite the gambit.
Things. Yeah,
I didn't think we had that many games that were disappointments, but apparently we do.
Actually,
I thought we came on here and we just raved about every game that we played. Which honestly, though, I would say the ratio of what we consider a good game to a bad game is pretty heavily weighted in.
And
the,
like
in
with
the good
Anthem,
game.
sometimes we come on and initially rave about it and don't realize until later that it's actually not very good.
Yeah, unfortunately,
We get
that
conned
does
to
happen.
sometimes. It happens.
It does. We can't be perfect all the
Yeah.
time, but it is what it
neither
is.
are games,
No,
so,
neither are games. And if you have games that you consider to be some of your biggest disappointments, let us know by writing us an email at teamchatpodcast@gmail.com, commenting below wherever you're listening to or watching the video or the episode, or jump over to our Discord and join us there. We would love to hear from you. But with that, I believe that this wraps up this episode of Team Chat Podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us today, everybody. And until next time, I am one of your hosts, Jerrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
Adios.
We'll see y'all next time.